Good evening and welcome to the Demolition Daily Livestream. I'm your host, Mark Anthony, and tonight we're going to be talking exclusively to the new president of the Institute of Demolition Engineers, Richard Dolman. He's waiting in the green room, or it should be the black room actually, because as you're about to see, he's in quite a dark environment at the moment. But we'll be right back with Richard right after this. Good evening, Richard, and thanks for joining us. I'm not going to dwell on the fact that you're in the dark, but you're on the road, but not driving. I'm glad to hear.
Yeah, good evening, Mark. Yeah, I can definitely say I'm not driving, but yes, I'm on the road at the moment.
Fantastic stuff. Okay, well, let's start where we should start. Congratulations on your election as IDE president. You must feel incredibly proud right about now.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, but a lot of people have been really kind, congratulating me, and it's funny, I've not really seen it like that. I've not seen it as a contest or it's just something, good to do and hopefully put a bit of something back into the industry.
But it's a recognition, I think, of all that you've done, and I mean, you put a lot into the IDE. Not just you, but a lot of people have put a lot into the IDE over the past few years, and I think that's due recognition. So I think you deserve to be proud of it, certainly.
Yeah, that's probably a really good way of putting it. Actually, that there's a lot of us put a lot in, and if it gets some recognition.
Now, one of the things that I obviously the people in the IDE would know this, but your presidency was actually confirmed via a virtual AGM, which I think has got to be a first. That must have been strange and probably a little bit disappointing, the fact that you didn't get to do it all hands on, I guess.
Yeah, well, it was strange, and sadly it didn't quite go how we'd have liked it to have done. A bit of a problem with Zoom, but for the current times, I was just glad that we could do it, and glad that I'm not one really for the pomp and ceremony. So I'm quite happy that the function that needed doing all happened.
That's going to be a challenge going forward, isn't it? Because I mean, obviously, part of the IDE's function is to bring people together, and meetings and regional meetings and that kind of thing. That's currently impossible, and there's not really an end in sight quite yet, is there?
No, it is really disappointing that it's a bit of a struggle. That with particularly the seminars, that's the big thing for the IDE. But we've got to look at doing things a little bit differently, and Brian Carroll did a wonderful job a few weeks ago of hosting and organising an online mini seminar, which was a bit of a toes in the water type thing, and it worked brilliantly. So, the plan is at the moment is that we're going to plan seminars online, and is this something that we've perhaps needed anyway? Should we be hosting seminars, perhaps a hybrid in future? Where we get everybody together so they can do all the mingling that we do, but also for those that can't get, that can join us online, or even better still, people can join us online globally in the future, hopefully. And perhaps it's been that little push that we've all needed.
Yeah, it's an interesting take as well, because I've brought this up before, talking about the press, really. I spend a lot of my time writing about the need to protect the environment, and then I'll happily jump on a plane and fly off to Las Vegas for a week. The IDE really does push the environmental and the green issues very, very hard, and yet everybody's expected to travel to London or travel to Leeds once a year and clock up some carbon emissions. So yeah, maybe that is the way forward.
In the camp of that we offer both, because I think there is a lot of value in getting together, and you forget that just even when you're having a cup of tea and exchanging information. And so not only just when you're taking information in from speakers and things, just through chatting to people, you're learning. It's a part of what it's about.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. We should be talking about meetings really, because I think the Midlands region, which is obviously the bit that you're most associated with, I think between yourself and Adrian McLean at Armac and John Woodward, you've been a really active region, while some of the others have been somewhat less so. Given the need for sort of CPD points and all that kind of thing, how do you go about, in your new presidential role, how do you go about getting those other regions to follow the same sort of suit that you've set in the past?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to say that previous presidents haven't tried, because they have, and it's not an easy thing to do. And I'll just try and get, the council management members to organise events. And we're all really busy people, aren't we? But the plan is to just try and encourage people to get events on. And again, with the success that Brian had with the online thing, I think it might encourage people to try a bit that way as well. But I'll just be doing my best to get people to put regional meetings on. I think the key is not too many, because it's difficult to get, good content, and it's pointless putting something on unless you've got good content.
That's a fair comment. Now, getting on to your presidency itself, you've already set out your vision for your presidency, and that's very much based around education. Tell me more. What have you got in mind?
Yeah, so as you know, I was fortunate enough to be involved with Terry Cornby, John Woodward, and Mick Uliat as well, early doors, getting the degrees off the ground. And there's still some work to do with those, but I'm really pleased with the way they've gone and what they're offering. And I want to promote the degrees really hard, but I also would like to offer to the members a little bit more if I can. That's in the way of perhaps small courses or small targeted seminars. I mean, I've got to discuss this more with the council of management, but that's what I'd like to do, is just some sort of either online or again classroom or both, just small technical courses, because we're demolition engineers, and I feel that we should offer a platform to teach engineers engineering skills.
Now, you just mentioned the word members. As you're probably aware, I've been pre-promoting the fact that you're coming on the show tonight, and it's triggered several questions on social media, all of them training related, and all of them asking if the training would be open to everyone, or whether it would be behind some sort of trade association firewall, like most of the current training that's available. I won't ask you to comment on the ongoing sort of training regime demolition wise, because that's not part of your IDE remit, but can you offer viewers any reassurance on the availability of IDE training?
So if we can offer some sort of small courses that are technical courses, I don't see why anybody can't take part, join those courses, whether they're an IDE member or not, because a lot of what we particularly with the foundation degree, what we set out to do was to get people involved in understanding demolition that aren't necessarily demolition contractors, stakeholders, project managers, clients, anybody that's involved in demolition, to give them an insight. Because as an industry, we quite often, dare I say, moan that we're always getting bashed by people that don't understand our job. So, it is an opportunity. Let's let people have an insight into our job, and perhaps they will be more understanding when it comes to working with us.
Now, that leads on to really my next question. Do you believe there's enough young blood coming into the IDE, well, into demolition in the first place, but also into the IDE and maybe the academic side of demolition? And if not, how do you go about encouraging that?
Oh, well, you've just tripped me up with that question then, because I was about to. My answer was going to be, I don't think there's enough people coming into any trade where you get your hands dirty. I get really frustrated about that. How many adults could, or how many parents could say they'd be delighted when their kids come home and say, I want to be a bricklayer, I want to be a hairdresser, I want to work in demolition, that type of thing. Most people are focused now on the kids having higher end jobs, and then the education system, I don't think, helps. So, yeah, but then you mentioned the academic side as well. But the truth is, I believe in all levels of our industry, there's superb careers available. There's whether you're a skilled demolition operative, and don't confuse that with a demolition plant operative. I mean a demolition operative, or a plant operative, or a site manager, or then turning more towards contract management, estimating, engineering. There's every single one of those jobs is a real skill now, and well, it always has been, but it's a real skill, and the opportunities are endless. I've often said, particularly about a demolition engineer, is when you're building a structure, you plan it out on a computer and it tells you how heavy that element's going to be that you're going to lift up in the air as a bridge or whatever. But a demolition engineer is expected to work out the weight of the bridge before they cut it, or let it go, with zero room for error. It's a very challenging, skilled job, and promoted right, I think it could attract
absolutely
many people into
we just had a comment here from Cooper's Diamond Drilling. No one wants to get their hands dirty anymore. I think you're absolutely right. But I do think it is a case of showing the opportunities that are there. Now, one of the other things that you've been a very vocal advocate for is sharing details of accidents and near misses, again, as a learning opportunity for the wider industry. Is that something you'll be able to pursue as IDE president?
I'd like to. I mean, I a few years ago actually got involved in launching a website, a forum where people could talk about or post lessons learned or things that had gone wrong anonymously or badged however they pleased. It wasn't successful, if I'm honest. Partly, A, uptake wasn't great. B, the amount of input I needed to put into it, or myself and my team needed to put into it. But I want to explore doing that again. But this time I'm IDE badged, and hopefully get something going there. And I'm going to really encourage people to just talk about lessons learned, and that doesn't necessarily have to mean on the back of something going wrong. No, Carl, pub telling us things factually, talking to people involved, what's happened, what may have happened within a week, and they're saying we'll have a full report within 6 to 8 weeks. Well, shouldn't we be doing the same in our industry, or being allowed to do the same, rather than hide behind a pending prosecution or something like that? All of us in our industry, and probably any industry, have had that moment when we've gone, God, that was close. And anyone that says they're not telling the truth. But it shouldn't be frowned upon to talk about near misses, lessons learned, and that type of thing. And I will encourage as much as I can people to stand up and say, we learnt this from this, because chances are they might well be saving a life or an injury.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting watching the International Powered Access Federation, who are doing a lot in that. I mean, they've actually put an app together to make reporting easier, and they've even amended some of their training because of the findings from that app. So, it is possible. We just need to sort of take a bit of a leaf out of their book, perhaps.
Yeah, and not run scared of, we might not win. Excuse me, we might not win this contract because it's been aired that we've had this mistake one day. As I've said, all contractors in construction, demolition, whatever, have had near misses or incidents, and we need to learn to be more.
Now, you're starting your presidency not exactly at the ideal time. You've got an ongoing global pandemic, and you've got the spectre of Brexit looming over us. We've already seen the UK demolition industry has lost, half a dozen companies this year. How do you see the demolition industry playing out over the next 2 years of your presidency?
I think the starting point would have been, the economy's crashing. We're 11% down now on what we were, but then are we fortunate in as much as the government are saying, you know, one of the big things we're going to do is build our way out of this. So the construction industry is going to be buoyant, which means related industries are going to be buoyant, which is all really good. And I think there's a lot of industries that have got it far, far, far worse than us. You know, leisure industry, hospitality industry, and it's going to be survival of the fittest, isn't it? And people that are just being careful, looking after what they've got, you know, maybe even, dare I say, not the race to the bottom in the tender process, because, you know, that's generally what causes issues. And I think if contractors are careful and cut their cloth accordingly, you know, my gut feel is we should be okay.
Fingers crossed. Now, I obviously you're on your way home now, so I'm not going to keep you for too much longer. But I know you've only just got the role, but fast forward to December 2022. How do you envisage the IDE looking when you hand over to your successor?
A good question. I suppose I'd just like to think that I've made a few steps in the areas that we've talked about. You know, I'd like to think that people will come to our seminars and talk about their lessons learned. I'd like to think that the foundation degree and the master's degree are gaining wind strong, and that we're doing that little bit more education. I think if I can sort of get those three things ticked off, and then when Vernon takes over from me as president in 2 years' time, if he can continue with a bit of that, and I'm sure he'll have his own ideas, I'll be delighted.
Fantastic, Richard. It's been an absolute pleasure, as it always is. I'm going to let you get back to your journey home. Obviously, every success with your presidency is very well deserved, and we obviously everyone at Demolition News looks forward to supporting you throughout your presidency. So, very, very best of luck with it.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Sorry, just if I could just hijack you for a second. We've got intakes at the minute for the foundation and the masters. If anybody's interested, please contact either the IDE office or Wolverhampton University. We've got a few places left. It'd be wonderful to get a few more enrolled.
Absolutely. Well, when I put this video live on YouTube and on Facebook after we've finished recording, I'll put a link to both of those so that people can go direct. So fingers crossed we'll get a few more bodies on board.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mark.
No problem at all. I'll speak to you soon, Richard, and thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank
you. Sorry about the sound quality there. It wasn't absolutely perfect. I do realise that, but I guess if you're recording in a car, you're going to have a few issues. People, I need your help. I don't often say that, but on this occasion, I really do need your help. Earlier today, the postman delivered me a new fleece, but it came with no accompanying letter, so I've got no idea who actually sent it. What I can tell you is it's got a Liebherr logo on one sleeve and a steel wrist logo on the other. And it's also got this logo. I don't know if you can see that. Does anyone recognise that? If you can tell me where that fleece has come from, so I can actually say a big thank you to whoever sent it to me. If you're watching, whoever it is, I really do appreciate it, but I'd love to say thank you properly. So if you do know that logo, please let us know. I think that'll probably just about do us for tonight. I won't be here tomorrow because we're finishing off our next Demolition magazine to make sure you get it before Christmas. And on Wednesday, I will be moonlighting over on our Diggers and Dozers channel following a machine launch by the fine folks at Doosan earlier in the day. Speaking of Diggers and Dozers, they passed the 250,000 followers mark on Instagram earlier today. So a massive congratulations to them. Just one final thing. Assuming the Gremlins were behaving tonight, themselves this evening, tonight's show will have been broadcast on YouTube, Facebook, and for the first time, Twitter. Never done that before. So if you're not already following us on these platforms, you're missing out on the ability to interact with these live stream shows going forward, because I'm going to check in a second. And if it did go out okay on Twitter, we'll be doing more of the same in the future. Till then, let's draw a line under this episode and let you get on with your evening. I'll see you again here later in the week. But if you'd like a fix of the latest equipment news, I hope you can join us at 6:30. That's UK time, obviously, over on Diggers and Dozers on Wednesday. Until then, thank you to Richard Dolman. Congratulations to Richard Dolman. Thanks everybody for joining us. I've had a few comments that have come up, but they're coming through out of sequence here, so I'll answer those a bit later on. But in the meantime, stay safe, look after yourselves, your family, your friends, and your colleagues, and I will see you again very, very soon indeed. All the best.